Yesterday was our first episode of Law & Order, and we've had a ton of comments and questions about the show. A jury returned a verdict on 2 counts, and now we're going to show you what happened behind the scenes, inside the jury room. But before we start, I want to explain the first thing I did wrong as the producer. Jurors appeared in StreamYard before we went live, and I removed everyone's names to protect their identities. Once we'd shown the jurors to the audience and then removed them, I should have replaced the name tags for Dan the plaintiff and Aiden the defendant. Now why am I fessing up to all this? The biggest piece of feedback we received from jurors and viewers was that it wasn't made clear enough who the participants were or the nature of the allegations. Next time, we'll make things crystal. Okay, enough troubleshooting. Let's listen to our 3 jurors who literally dropped into an audio-only conference call after 2 grueling hours of legal jargon, messily presented evidence, and hyperbole. It was a lot to ask, and they were amazing. Props to Lauren for finding exceptional people to take part, and a huge thank you to 3 gracious helpers who kept the wheels of justice turning. Check it out.
Oh man. Why doesn't somebody else start first? Because I'm still like processing. Well, I have questions. So we're arguing this from the legality, like from the legal point of view, right? Not because I know there was a lot of different things being thrown in. So
I think one place to start would be that Dan, his name was Dan, right? Yeah. Dan was the guy from Wales, was alleging that Aiden defamed the man and also included libelous materials. And the question I would say would be he'd have the burden of proving that what Aiden said was false. Do you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah.
And so the question is whether we feel he met his burden in proving that Aiden either defamed the man or libeled or included libelous materials in his broadcasting.
Okay.
So would you want to go first, juror number 3?
So were those letters or the things from DCS, were they shown on his show? I guess we didn't really get into too much of the particulars. You know, they were just kind of going back and forth. So I'm kind of ADD.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they were just kind of going back and forth and kind of moving goalposts. So I'm still kind of processing what was going on.
Extremely hard to understand what was going on when the barrier came up of no more asking questions, and it was, I'm talking louder than you, you're talking louder than me, and then had to stop, mute, and get back into it. Towards the end, it got better, but that was there's got to be law. It's got to be law and order in this.
Yeah, they got to stay on subject, stay on topic. There was a lot of
it turned into like a Twitter argument when you're not in the court setting of facts, questions and facts.
Yeah.
I guess too, it might have been helpful to have it set forth who was making the allegation and what the specific allegations were, because I think the allegations, if this was a civil case, Aiden would have been the defendant, right? Did Aiden include defamatory material? And I think we should separate it into 2 parts. One, the claimed or alleged defamatory material about the guy, and that was whether or not he was a predator when he had been exonerated of the sexual assault. And then the second part would be whether or not the things he said about Kate included libelous materials or whatever. So juror number 1 or 2, whatever you are, what are your thoughts on the first part? The girl is 3, so the guy.
I'm 3. That's you guys.
That's you.
Yeah, I'm number 2. What do you mean the first part? First part of the
So
question?
did Aiden defame the guy by calling him a predator?
So let's break down all of it. What is a predator and what is defamation, right? Defamation, from my understanding, is like it's not just a reputation, but it's the good reputation of someone.
Like an attack on your character in a public
Right.
setting.
And the thing is, if you don't have a good character, if you don't have a good reputation, what am I defaming?
Mm-hmm.
Can you really defame a shitbag? Can you? You're already rock bottom. You're already, the underneath my boot.
Mm-hmm.
Not this person individually, but a hypothetical bad person, if you will. So for me, this dude's already got a bad reputation. He already had, I think he said they weren't felonies, but he had a large list of
very questionable. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think it was defamation at all. I mean, we're in America. You can put stuff out online for the most part. You can say pretty much whatever you want as long as you're not crossing that fine line of threats or inciting something or actual defamation or libel. And
but can you state a false fact about another human being if you know it to be false?
I think that would be defamation.
Does he know it to be false?
Well, if you don't have reason to believe it to be true. The question is, was there a fact stated about that guy that was false? And I don't know that calling somebody a predator is a fact, is a factual statement. He didn't say
he didn't necessarily have to put out facts all the way, right? What's his opinion versus fact?
Right. If he had called him a rapist, knowing the guy had been exonerated of rape, I think then there may be a problem. But by calling him a predator when the guy exhibited clearly predatory behavior, that doesn't seem like a false statement that would affect the guy's reputation.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody want to add anything to it? I do think it's somewhat misleading to call the guy a predator. Everybody knows that when they mean sexual predator. I think I don't think it rises to the level of defamation for exactly the reasons juror number 2 said, but I do think it was somewhat misleading. Do you guys agree?
Okay, so we're talking about the legality of it. I was gonna say his behavior is definitely questionable. And I did.
No.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's misleading at all because when Dan was asking the questions, or I guess it was not Adrian. Yeah, when he was asking, is it appropriate for an adult to message, Facebook, link, whatever, a 15-year-old girl? I've been thinking this entire time. I can't think of one scenario where me say I was a 15-year-old, like, I'm going to accept this stranger, even an adult. Like the parent should be in the child's life to know who they're talking to. Because it could possibly be completely harmless, just some, maybe a little strange guy, doesn't, socially awkward, doesn't know the fine line between adult and minor. And then they get a little curious, and next thing you know, that's how things build like that.
Well, I was gonna say, when I was that age, I looked like I was 22. Like I was wondering if she really looked that age or she looked older. You know what I mean? Like if she really, really looked young, then I remember being young and lying about my age. So I know girls do that. But that doesn't make it right. That's not my point. I was just kind of thinking out loud.
And even if that's the case, a child trying to, act older and lie about their age, the child,
adult,
just because they do that doesn't make them necessarily in the wrong, because the adult is the actual one with the life experience, the legal age. They're supposed to be the responsible one.
Yeah.
If I for me, there's a category. You're either predator and a rapist, or you're not. There's a fine line.
Very specific.
It's like it's a switch in your head, and if you stumble down that path, that's these repercussions that come with it. Perception is reality, as they say.
Yeah, I feel like they all need to be euthanized. Anybody that harms like the elderly, children, animals, anybody that harms the helpless and the innocent, I feel like they should be euthanized in a perfect world, right?
That's honestly what I would love my job to be.
Yeah.
I want to be a predator.
So, Henry, the producer, can you please? I see that you just flashed the second allegation, which was fabrication of documents. Can you give us the same flash for what the first allegation was?
Yeah, sure. So it was on the banner during the show. So it'll come up as, this is how Dan wanted it expressed. So Dan, the plaintiff, accusing the defendant Aidan of fabrication of documents and harassment.
Oh, and harassment. So it was never defamation, it was harassment.
Okay.
So do you think that, so going back to what we talked about defamation, but let's go back. Do you guys think that
I can clarify with Lauren as well.
That Aidan's behavior was harassing? I don't think so.
No.
Okay, so we just voted on that, Henry. And on falsification of documents, do you guys think that Aidan falsified documents?
Well, that DCF document and the words they used, it was not. I don't see them being very sympathetic from what I've heard, and I know people that have had to deal with them, that they're not sympathetic. They wouldn't be using the words and giving information like you need to take legal action, and they don't do that. I don't think that would. I don't know. It just looks sketchy to me. What did you guys think about that document?
I'm going to come back in 2 minutes, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. The document it didn't look like it added up too well.
So we all agree that Aidan wasn't the one who falsified documents, but Kate appears to have provided, according to Dan, documents from the department that probably, an email from the department that probably didn't originate from the department. Right?
Yeah.
So would we all say that Dan did not prove his case against Aidan, that Aidan falsified his documents?
Yeah, because those documents came from, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Came from the other party, right?
Right.
But would the documents be drawn up to, would it be a proof, or would it be like a tool to harass somebody with, do you think? I think more to prove a point. Like, nobody should be falsifying documents, but I think that they did that to try to prove a point.
Right, but I don't think that Aidan ever posted falsified documents.
Gotcha.
Do you?
I don't know.
So if we're to vote on whether or not Aidan committed any of the acts of which he's accused, what would the vote be?
I guess I got to put I'm just fighting with my personal feelings, but he's not likable, but I agree, like, with you.
Who is not likable?
Aiden, I don't know. I just don't find him very likable.
That's funny because I find him exceedingly bright and exceptionally likable.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Welsh.
Oh, the Welsh guy?
The one that's in the hospital, but he's smoking.
Yeah.
He's smoking. Like, what are you doing? At least mute.
I just checked with Lauren. So clarification for the 2 counts. So the first one is whether there were lies made about the predator, so defamation. Lauren clarified that was what we're looking for. So the first one's defamation, and the second one is DCF documents, were they faked or real?
Okay.
Okay. So on defamation, we already voted that there was no defamation, and on the DCF documents that Aiden submitted, not the one that supposedly Kate submitted that was an email, we all agree that the likelihood was that those are legitimate documents. Is that, or that there was no proof that those were not legitimate documents? Do you guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
I agree.
That's perfect.
That's
and are you happy to relay that verbally to Lauren when we jump back on stream, or do you want me to relay that?
I'm going to let I think juror number 2 should relay that unless you want to.
It'd be better from a juror if that's possible.
Then juror number 2 or juror number 3, whichever you guys would like to do that.
So it would literally just be to say that there was no defamation, and then DCF documents, no proof that they were faked.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, awesome. The link to go back, I'm just going to stick that in the private chat here.
Okay.
I'm not going to go back, Henry the producer. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
As promised, there it is. In this show, we hope to uncover some of the dynamics that play into a trial, and by showing the deliberations of a jury room, which are always secret, we're all learning together. Thank you for subscribing to Lauren DeLaguna. This is Law & Order.